Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new live stream. We have a pretty interesting one for you today. I've done this before, once, maybe twice, maybe you remember. I'm going to do a live app teardown of Apple search ads campaigns. And this is the first time I'm doing this formally, so we had a form and people could submit their apps and give me a little bit more insight into their campaigns. So this one is going to be a little bit better. But before we get started, let's follow a tradition. What's in your cup and where are you from? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll wait for people to shuffle in and we'll continue. Let's see. The stream is working. It may not work. It does seem to work. Let's see. If you can see me in the stream, let me know in the comments. Let me see what I can do to fix this, because it may not be working. Oh, hey. Is the stream working on YouTube? That's the question. I think it's working on LinkedIn. What's a good stream without some technical difficulties, right? Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. For those of you who are seeing me, hello. Please tell me what's in your cup and where you're from until I fix this, which I think I need to fix. I'm back. Uh-oh. I think I may have broke the official stream. Let's see. How did I break the official stream? I did break the official stream. Hang on. We're going to divert everyone to the other stream somehow. We're going to fix this. Talk about having fun on a stream. I don't think I've ever broke a stream like this. I guess that happens. Let's see. Again, if you can see me, let me know in the comments. I hope you're not bored by this. We started on time, though, so I think we're fine. I want to update all the links, so this should just work. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Okay, let's see what we see in YouTube Studio. Talk about fun. Okay, there are people in the chat finally, so something is happening. I did fix the link, so it takes us to the right stream, as to Grant's point in the chat. Hopefully more people will do this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do this again. But again, let me know what's in your cup, where you're from, and we'll wait for more people to shuffle in now that we fixed the stream link. I'm drinking Earl Grey black tea. It's been a while since I did this on the stream. I don't think maybe I've done it once this year. And I'm here in New York City. It's sunny here. It's nice. Finally, summer is coming. So yeah, let me know where you're drinking. Let me know where you're from. We'll wait for more people to shuffle in and figure out the new link. And then we'll continue to what I think is going to be a pretty interesting stream. So let's give it a minute or two. have people shuffle in. I see people are shuffling in, so we're in business. Something good is happening. Yeah, the chart is going up, so people did figure out the right link. I have no idea how I broke it. I was so ready for this one. Everything was ready. I guess that's what happens when everything is ready. Also, we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on LinkedIn, we're streaming on my personal X, Twitter X, and also on the App Figures Twitter X. So if you're chatting, let us know where you're coming from so we know where you're seeing us, watching us, seeing us. One of the two. But I see water from Central PA, actually not too far from me. Nice. Let's see what else we can get after this this broken link. Maybe I'll tweet it. I'll just make sure everyone knows this link is good. North Carolina is in the house. I see that. That's nice. Getting on Twitter in the middle of a live stream. That's why I have a phone. Nothing else. Ooh, France is in the house. That's nice. More North Carolina. Buenos Aires. Hola. Okay, and we'll get ready to get started very, very, very soon. Ooh, Morocco. Interesting. Leonardo saying hi. Hi, Leonardo. It's good to see you. Welcome back to the show. Brazil is in the house. More Pennsylvania. I like that. Pennsylvania is very close to New York, in case that wasn't obvious. Okay, so new link has been tweeted. Hopefully we'll get everyone here. Hey, Jennifer is in New York. Hello, fellow New Yorker. Germany. Sunny Cyprus. Interesting. What time is it in Cyprus right now? I really want to look that up. I'll look that up later. So let me get more set up now. We'll have comments up and everything, and then we'll go from there. Oh no, my comments are all broken because of this. Let's see if I can fix that too. Everything is fixable. Of course, everything is fixable in real time. I think that's how it's done, right? Get started, then fix everything. But at least you can hear me. I think it could have been worse. We've had that before. Oh no, that's the wrong link. Okay, I'll figure out comments in just a little bit. I really want to get started. So, I think it might be time to get started. I'll look at the comments over here. I have two screens. That's why I actually have a whole bunch of screens. Maybe one day I'll do a studio tour. But until then, I think it's time to get started. So, I'm Ariel from App Figures, in case you weren't sure. And I have a pretty exciting, I think, live stream here where we're going to go through Apple search ad campaigns from, hopefully, those of you who are in the viewing audience who submitted your apps and gave me a little bit more data about what you're trying to do with your search ads, what keywords you're using, or what keywords you're attempting to use, and how big your budgets are. So it gives me an idea of what's going on. I picked 4 apps at random. I'm going to try and get through all of them. And if I don't get through all of them, as always, I'll do the ones that I didn't get to in the comments below. So make sure to check that. Now, if your app didn't get picked, I will do this again for sure. So I'm thinking of maybe taking apps from this batch into the next live stream. And this way, it'll be more fair to everyone. We'll see. We'll see. There's much more to do. But I'm Ariel from App Figures, and I have been talking about App Store optimization for so long that it's just natural that as more people do more Apple search ads, I will look at that as well. Now, they're not at all the same. That's the thing. There are keywords, and that's really where the line ends for similarities. But at the end of the day, it does give you the same idea, the same perception. People are searching in the App Store, and they're finding your app. So optimizing it, while incredibly different than Apple search ads, is super important. It's not just give Apple some money and then get some downloads. Ideally, that would be it. But that's not the case, especially now with Apple search ads. And those of you who are spending a lot on Apple search ads know that it's actually kind of challenging to spend a lot on Apple search ads, unless you're Temu or TikTok or one of the big ones. And for those reasons, it's super important to think about, one, the long tail, and two, how to get more keywords that may not be as competitive. They may not be competing with TikTok or Bigo or one of those big apps that advertise pretty much across everything. And that's what I'm going to show you today as I do this for apps. So that's pretty much the intro. But before I continue, there are two important things. Important thing number one is, if you're using basic search ads, please don't. Some of you who submitted apps do use basic search ads, and they're just not good. The reason basic is not good, and you'll see this as we go through other apps, is that ultimately the keyword selection is really your best tool. If you let Apple do that, it will probably cost you too much on the good case, and on the bad case, not only is it going to cost you too much, it's not going to give you the results you want, because it's going to put you in things that where you don't belong. Now, some people can get lucky with basic search ads. I've talked to maybe one or two, maybe three, but ultimately it doesn't work for most because it's just too automated. There's not enough that we can do as the owners of the campaigns in order to target them. And to me, that's evil. I think that's a waste of money and a waste of time. And if your budget is maybe $10 and that's all you want to do and you're not expecting anything in return, okay. But if that's not the case, and I hope that's not the case for all of you, don't do Apple search ads basic, please, please. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring an app on the screen. We're going to look at the App Store page for it, and then we're going to look at the keywords based on our Search Ads Intelligence tool. Search Ads Insights tool. We renamed it a few times. And we're going to see what kind of keywords people see. Because ultimately, when you put keywords into your Apple search ads campaigns, whether it's exact match keywords, broad match keywords, and I will explain what all those means in case you're not sure, or even use smart match or search match as they call it now, the keywords that people do see where they find you really depend on who's competing, what's your budget, what time of day it is, what country it is, and a whole array of other factors. So I like to look at the keywords that people see, not the keywords that we put in as the owners of the campaign. So that's what I'm going to do with the Search Ads Insights tool that we haven't announced yet. We'll be announcing very soon. It's available currently. Now, some of you may want to follow along. If you want to follow along, I created a promo code so you can upgrade to the plan that has the Search Ads Insights tool, and that is the Grow plan. So if you want to do that, if you want to do what I'm going to do today with your app and your competitors, if you want to follow along today and you want to upgrade to that plan, this is a great price. You have to go for the Grow plan or above, and this is 30% off for 3 months. Not one, not two, 3. I think that's 3. So yeah, give it a use. I'll bring this up on the screen in a little bit too, but let's jump into the first app. And the first app I have for you today, let me bring up my computer, is Main Court. Now, I have not looked at these apps before. I don't really know these apps. I don't even necessarily know the developers for these apps. So all of this is very new to me. I'm seeing this for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the app. I'm going to try to understand what the app does from its App Store preview page and the screenshots. And then we're going to look at the keywords themselves, and we'll see if they align, if there are any keywords that we can introduce that would help this get more visibility, hopefully for cheap, and also what we can do to learn from competitors, who are the right competitors, and what can we do with those competitors. And before we even get to that, one little point is when it comes to App Store optimization, the organic side, I always say that your competitors for ASO are really the apps that are ranking next to you, not necessarily the apps that you think are your competitors. And that's true for Apple Search Ads as well. Even more true, as we'll see as we go through these apps. And the reason is anyone can really pay for anything. It's not always going to work because Apple does care about relevancy, but at the right amount, nothing really matters. And there are apps that encroach on a ton of smaller keywords because they know that's their way to succeed. So if your app is in this position, meaning there's another competitor that may not be relevant, may not be even a replacement for this app, that is your competitor. And the cool thing is you can, one, identify those because this is how you know who you're up against. And if you're up against someone with an amazingly large budget, then you know that you need to find other ways to compete. Even if it's only for your keyword, even if they're not competing with you, you know that they're taking your share. And if they are competitors that are relevant or interesting or similar, you can take their keywords. So we're going to do both of those in this next step. So let me go back to my screen and let's talk about main court. So main court, that's a pretty interesting one. So main court looks to me like a way to organize and play pickleball, which is actually really cool. This is such a niche app, and yet I really like the icon. I really like the colors. I really like everything that's happening here. That's from the ASO side of things, not really on the on anything else. So once I find my mouse, I found the mouse. Let's scroll down a little bit. So I'm imagining pickleball is definitely going to be a part of this list. And if it's not, then we have a problem. But there are other things that I see because in general, if you think about what can happen or what can bring people to the App Store for an app about sports, I can think of at least 10 other keywords that would work. So let's take a look. And what I did is I preloaded this into the Search Ad Insights report. And if you're looking for the Search Ad Insights, it's right over here on the side menu. And you can, what this report does is it uses our engine that does collection of data. It scans through the App Store, looks at all these keywords all day, every day, multiple times per day, and looks for all the competitors that are showing up, meaning it looks for all the ads that are showing up. So I set the time period here to 90 days. So we have as many keywords as we can to analyze. And we have here, oh, I started filtering this before. We have here 252 keywords. So we know now that in the US on the App Store, main court has been seen across 252 different keywords. And that's pretty exciting. That's a large enough campaign that should get you enough downloads. So that's a good starting point, the right number. And as we'll see with other apps, it's not always as high. Now, let's see what we have here. So I'm sorting by popularity because popularity, just like in ASO, it's the same popularity as ASO because they come from the same place. And this popularity means searches. Higher popularity, more people are searching for it. Now, unlike ASO, here you don't necessarily want to find the keywords with the highest popularity because those keywords with the highest popularity are probably also more expensive. Unlike the organic side where it's driven just by people, this is also driven by money. And when something is driven by money, you know that the higher number, the higher it's going to cost, the more it's going to cost. And it's not necessarily the best way to get those downloads. So let's take a look at some of these keywords, especially the popular ones, and we'll see what's happening. Epic Pass, I believe Epic is an app for some sort of tracking, and I'm familiar with this app, so that makes sense to me. College football, maybe. I don't really know how that works, but look at this. College football is a popularity of 40. Popularity of 40 means that this keyword is not cheap. Every time someone sees it, costs you something. Every time someone taps on it, costs you something else. And that something is really high. So one of the ways to optimize your campaign, if you want to get more downloads and not spend too much more money, what you could do is you can find these keywords that are really expensive and turn them off. And I know that might sound counterproductive or counterintuitive, but it really isn't. The reason why you don't want these is because they're not extremely relevant. Pickleball and college football are totally relevant. So if I'm looking for a college football app of any sort, whether it's fantasy sports, whether it's for scores or for really anything else, I'm not going to download a pickleball planner app. There's just the very small chance. I wouldn't say never because, never say never, but ultimately it's very low. So those keywords are still interesting. They're still good. But one of the most important things that you can do in this case, and this is something that I talked about in a previous live stream with Thomas Pettit, who does this sort of thing for a living, is have these, but have them on the very low burner, meaning put a very low bid on them. Now, that might be what's happening here, judging by the share of impressions. Share of impressions is really, really small. And if that is the case, great. Ultimately, that's the way to do it. If you're not doing that and you are trying to bid competitively for these really, really popular keywords, that are not immediately relevant, that's probably a way to burn money. So don't do that. Now, if whoever designed this, whoever made this is in the audience, please let me know if you're bidding a ton of money or a little bit of money on this, mostly because I'm curious. Now, so if I'm looking at this campaign, these would be the keywords that I kind of remove from the list or maybe move into a different campaign that I set to a very, very, very low budget. Now, if I'm continuing to go through this, there are a bunch of keywords here that kind of look to me like either broad match keywords or search match keywords. And which means that Apple is assisting in taking one keyword and expanding it into multiple keywords. That's what broad match does. It looks for similar enough keywords or keywords that have the same, well, not really the same meaning, but the same words. It gets complicated, so we'll worry about this later, but it's similar enough. It's smart, but only a little bit. Whereas search match is very smart. It doesn't even need you to give it keywords. It will do all that for you. To me, that's evil because that takes all the control away from the person who actually knows most about their app. So we'll continue. Miami Heat, that's the name of a basketball team. So I see a lot of sports stuff, but at the end of the day, let's see what we have. And that's what I started searching before. Let's see, pickleball. Okay, so there we go. We got some pickleball. So we have a whole bunch of pickleball keywords, 26 out of 252. And this is actually good. This is what you want. Now, all these are 5s, which means they get very little searches. And that's okay. Ultimately, not many people go into the App Store thinking, I'm going to find my pickleball planner today. But some people do, obviously, because some people are searching for this. So really what you have to think about is not just how do I get the most popular keywords, but it's how do I get the most relevant keywords. Now, to get the most relevant keywords, obviously you can start by having everything to do with your app, and that's what I see here, which is really good. Pickleball expert, pro expert. I'm imagining some of these are competing apps. That's interesting, and that's where you want to spend. That's where you want to put more of your spend versus those very big keywords, and you want to get this share to go up much higher. So I'm looking for anything that has to do with pickleball. Obviously, this app might be interesting to me. And that's really what is super important about this. Think about the intent because your money is on the line. Now, an easy way to do this is, let's say we're looking at pickleball court, which I think is probably one of the most relevant keywords. We can take a look at the competitors. So we have tennis pal, I guess interesting, not exactly. We have main court, that's us, very nice. And look at the share of voice, share of impressions, pretty high. And then we can look at, let's say, this pickle play. Sounds kind of relevant, so I'm going to add it to the selection. And now we're going to see all the keywords that both of these apps are showing up in. And I still have my my beginning of pickleball filter. So we can now find all the keywords where this app is ranked and our app isn't. And those are ideas. So pickleball scheduler, that's kind of a cool keyword to add to this. Pickleball time, also interesting. Pickleball Pro, that's probably a name of an app, but just putting it out there. Also, look at this. This has a popularity of 15, which is triple what everything else has, and popularity scores are now linear, so 15 is way more than 5 times 3 in this case. So if I am main court LLC, the first thing I'm doing is adding this to my keyword list and giving it more of a budget. And I think ultimately, I probably should take most of these keywords, the one where I don't rank in, and make sure that I do rank in them. I think that's going to be the best way to go about this. Now, that's called Longtail strategy. And if you've seen my other live streams on Apple Search Ads, that's usually a really good way to go about this, because even though a lot of these keywords are all 5s, which means they get very little traffic, together they get a lot of traffic. And the more of these you put together in your campaign, you're going to see more traffic. And it's not going to be as competitive. If you look at this, most of the apps are kind of identical, which is great because it means there isn't money just being poured in as we would see normally with more popular keywords. So I think that's, I can continue talking about this, but I have a few more to go and there are questions in the chat and I want to do all of those. So to wrap this up, one, I would look at, well, let me bring my face back. So one, I would look at keywords that might not be as relevant, but are really big in terms of popularity and might be costing me too much money because people are looking at them. They might tap on the app, but not actually do anything with it. And I mean, not turn it into a conversion into a download. So that's one. Two, I would also look for additional long tail keywords that we can take either from competitors or just by looking at the app itself, probably from competitors. That's the fastest way, and apply those. So what you're doing is you're bringing down the cost that you have per tap because you're no longer targeting keywords that will probably not give you downloads, and you're extending the reach, the visibility that you have with many, many, many smaller keywords that ultimately together will give you more visibility. And because they're targeted, meaning the people who are searching for them are probably looking for your app, you will get more downloads. Those are the two things, and that's how I would go about doing this. Now, let's take a look at some questions. Because I messed up everything, I don't have questions on the screen, but let's see. Let me try again. We'll see if that... No, let's just go and talk about questions. So let's see. So Farida saying, hi, Ariel. Do you know why Apple Search Ads is not available in certain countries like Morocco? Is there a way I can bypass that or change the location of my developer account? I do not know why Apple is not available. Apple Search Ads are not available in some countries. I know they recently expanded to Brazil and some more countries south of here. So I think it's probably something Apple is working on. I bet you there's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen, probably stuff that has to do with laws and money would be my guess. I don't know of a way of bypassing this. Maybe Apple can help you because ultimately you're giving them money, but I have no idea what to do in that case. And then another question from Philip, who's asking, would you have groups for types like Longtail? Wait, I don't see my comment very well. Ad group. Would you have ad group for keyword types like Longtail? And that's talking about specifically how how keywords are set up inside of Apple Search Ads. You can, I think ultimately it depends on how you're structuring your campaigns. If your campaigns are by country, it'll be kind of weird to have a by country and also to have a long tail. If your campaigns are not by country and you want to have them all over, that could be it. Ideally, the more organized your campaigns are, the easier they are to set budgets and make changes. So I would vote for organized, yes. Yeah, okay, Philip clarified separate groups. I think so. Ultimately, again, it really depends on how you structure them. I structure mine a little bit differently, but yes, I structure mine kind of by themes, very similar to how I do ASO or App Store optimization, where I look at more keywords together, and then I modify bids manually if I have to. It's not necessarily the best way, but when you deal with very large campaigns, that's kind of a better way, in my opinion, to do it, because you have the theme that applies to every type of feature that you're targeting, every type of user that you're targeting, every type of use case. And so there you have everything from the most important keywords, the most popular keywords, all the way down to the super, super, super niche in kind of one list. Again, not necessarily the best way to do everything, but that's how I do it. Okay, so let's take a look at the next app that's on my list. Back to my computer. Next one is Nani Chat. Nani Chat sounds like grandma chat to me, but I don't think that's the case. Exciting anonymous chat app. Interesting. Okay. I don't really know if chat apps... Are chat apps still cool? Is that a thing? I thought that was kind of done with in 2017. But let's see. So this app is saying... Oh, okay. So exciting anonymous chat app. Talk about everything. But then if you look at the screenshots, you see dating chat, best matches, one-click dating, free and easy. I am sufficiently confused by this app. If you're in the viewing audience, please tell me what this app is for. Is this a dating app, or is this an anonymous chat app like Whisper and the other apps from a few years ago? And who needs this? I think ultimately my question would be, who needs this? And that's actually a good point, because every app needs to have someone who uses it. You need to understand who that person is. One way to understand who that person is actually to read reviews from competitors if you haven't built an app yet, or to read your own reviews if you have built an app and it is in the store, whether it's Apple or Google. And getting to understand that user will give you more insight into which keywords to target. And again, this is not for App Store optimization. This is for Apple Search Ads, where money is on the line. So if you spend on the wrong keywords, you're just losing money. There's no other way to look at it. So we don't want to do that. Let's go back to my computer. So Nani Chat, it's an anonymous chatting app, but it's kind of like a dating app. I'm not entirely sure what this means, but let's take a look at the keywords. I do like the colors and the screenshots. It does look very much like a game more than a dating app. So I'm not sure if that's how attractive that is. But let's see. Okay. So Nani chat. Talk about anything. And again, I went for 90 days, so we have as many keywords as we can, and we have 214 keywords. And this is going to be interesting. I don't really know what any of these are. I assume some of these are app names, maybe Wingspan. Maybe apps in the dating space would be my guess. But then again, look at these popularities. They're really, really high, and none of these actually align in my mind with talk about anything that's also a dating app. So I don't know if someone who's searching for Catch or Gravity or Obedience or Woo or Wisp or Unite, which is super generic, would actually say, yeah, let me go and download this app that's an anonymous chat app that's also a dating app that has a bunch of cartoon-looking things on it. I'm not trying to be mean, by the way. I know it sounds like it, but you have to think about the intent of people coming into the App Store in this case and what they want, unless you have money to burn, unless you just want to burn away your money, get the fire started, because that could be what's happening here. Now, there is the other side of dating, and that is people are always interested. People who are looking for dating apps are always curious, and that's because they're looking for a date. And so you might have more of a, I'm willing to try this, even though I don't really know what this is for. I don't think that's going to be the kind of user that ends up paying you. So if you just want downloads for whatever reason, that might work. And it's going to cost you. It's not going to be cheap. But if you want the kind of user that will stick around and will engage and will inevitably upgrade, whether it's a subscription or an in-app purchase or whatever it is that you do to monetize, I don't think this is the right way. So let's continue looking at these things. We have Wisp, we have Unite, we have CP. I don't even know what CP stands for. IRC. I hope IRC is the IRC chat from back in the day. I haven't seen that in a while. We have Slash, we have Sonar, we have Tribe. Like, none of these to me make any sense. Different languages are actually interesting because we can translate them. This is a brand new feature. We announced it a few weeks ago. But if you see a keyword in a language you don't speak, you can turn this on and you can see that this says general. I hope that's actually true. If anyone speaks Hebrew, please let me know. Now, this is interesting. It's trying to convert Sia. But let's remove this because most of these keywords are in English. This is mostly useful when you do languages that you don't speak, like when I do Chinese or Japanese or Portuguese for Brazil. Oh, a comment from Adir in the chat. I would say it's a naughty chat. Naughty chat sounds like Nani. Oh, interesting. I thought Nani was anonymous. Okay. Oh, and it is for sexting, but they hide it. That's my guess. Okay. So we have some guesses in the chat what this is. Interesting. There's an app for sexting. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. Is sexting illegal in the App Store? Because if it isn't, this should be highlighted. I don't really know how to do that. But there's a reason I don't really do any dating apps on the ASO side or on the ASA side. It's such a weird space. We're working on a new report on dating apps, the state of dating apps that will be available in a few weeks, maybe a month. If you're interested, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter to get it. It's such a weird market. Such a weird market. But okay, getting back to the keywords list. So I don't know what this app exactly does. It might be for something that's hidden. It might be for something that's obvious. None of these keywords, I think, will lead to a conversion the way I see it. So my first thing to do would be to find apps that are similar and try to get their keywords. Let's see if there's really anything else going on here that is interesting. 1 kilometer is a 1% is a higher share of impression than most other keywords. What's going on here? I really don't understand. So hopefully someone who gets this can tell me in the comments because I'm very excited to learn what's going on. But if I was to look at this and think this is a dating app, what I would do is look for similar dating apps, maybe anonymous dating apps or easy to use dating apps or easy to get started dating apps. And then from there, go for what are they doing? And then take the long tail, just like I was thinking with the pickleball app, and continue from it. Now, more comments in the chat. So Adir is saying, so in Hebrew, the translation was correct, but it's also the name of a hospital service. I don't know how that's related at all to either a sexting app or a dating app or an anonymous chatting app. So something is really odd here with these keywords. I don't know if this, I should have looked. I didn't look, but I don't know if this is a basic campaign maybe. And Apple is just going wild, not exactly knowing what's going on and trying everything. But I have a feeling this campaign is burning unnecessary money and that it doesn't have to. Again, if this is your app, please let me know what's going on. I'm very curious. Just very, very curious. So let's take some questions and then continue to the next app. Let's see what we have in our chat. My chat is here. Let's see. Marcel is asking, is there a way to determine the budget needed for targeting a keyword in ASA? Let's say I'm targeting the keyword photo editor. How can I determine how much I need to spend to get X downloads? The easy answer is no. It's incredibly complicated because even trying to estimate it, which is something we're working on, is very, very inaccurate, at least for us yet. There is a lot that goes on into how Apple does this, and especially around photo editor. And I'm going to try not to take too long to answer this question because it's something I look at way too much. There is this concept that Apple has where the leader is getting the leader in terms of budget gets most of the impressions, but then everyone else gets a little bit of the impression. So you can pay the most money and not be the most visible, or you will be the most visible app, but you're not going to be the only visible app. So you can't just buy out a whole keyword, which means that even with a smaller budget, you might show up for something like photo editor, which is super competitive at this point because what CapCut did to the whole industry and everyone else is kind of racing to do it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should read the latest episode of This Week in Apps, which came out yesterday or the day before. And you should subscribe to the newsletter because I talked about how much money CapCut is making and how it changed the entire industry. It's bizarre. This whole photo editor app, photo and video editing category is just on its head right now. So there isn't an easy way to do it. What I would do is try it. Just like the conversation that I had with Thomas Pettit, and I will link to that in the comments later because it was a really good chat if you're trying to stretch your budget and get more out of it, which everyone should be doing. And he said something about iterating and trying and doing more things, and that's exactly the approach I would take here. Let's see if we have another question. Leonardo is asking, starting from a keyword, is it possible to list all the apps that are bidding on it? Feature request. Not yet, but coming very, very soon, and I kind of know who to invite to the beta right now. So the search out insights that you saw on the screen before is our next tool, or our first tool, our newest tool in a series of tools for Apple search ads. And what we're doing is we're showing the keywords that apps are using. We're going to do a profile for an app so you can, given an app, see everything interesting, meaning where it's advertising most, which countries, what keywords, who it's competing with, who are its ASA competitors, what I was talking about before. And then we're also going to do something similar to Inspector, where you can go into Keyword Inspector, my favorite tool, and you can put in a keyword and you'll see everyone advertising for it and additional stats on how much, who's winning, who started when, all those fun things. So you can easily get a gauge for, should I even bother with this keyword? I would do that for very big keywords and worry about the small keywords using something like Search Out Insights. So more to come. If you're interested in being in any of those betas, please let me know. I will make sure to put you in them. I do not have a timeline or a time frame for when this is going to happen, but it's stuff we're working on right now. And maybe this is not the best time to do this, but we're actually hiring. So if you are a React JavaScript developer, please let me know. We've been looking for a while. We're very specific with what we're looking for, and we have a pretty amazing opportunity for a really good senior React developer. If you know someone, please let them know. If you are someone, please let me know. Continuing. Okay, one last question, and then we'll continue to the third app. The question is, should keywords across localizations be completely unique, or does each localization have its own set of targets and doesn't commingle with other localizations? So in the case of Apple search ads, each campaign is really a set of keywords. So if you have a campaign and that campaign is targeting, let's say, Germany, and another is targeting the US, they will be individual campaigns. So whichever keywords you put in the US one will show up in the US, or at least may show up in the US. And the same for Germany. They don't intersect at all. Unlike, or kind of the same as App Store optimization. There's no intersection between them, but there's also no concept of localization in Apple search ads. It's all campaign based. So you choose how you want to do it. You can have one campaign with multiple targets, multiple countries. You can have one campaign per country. Again, organizing Apple search ads campaigns, I can do a whole live chat on that, live stream on that, fairly easily and cover 2 hours. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. One more question from Lori. Is there any cons having one main search ads campaign with every keyword in it instead of having one separate for every country, for example? Good question. I should have read this one before. Yes and no and maybe. Ultimately, it really depends. If you're trying to build a campaign that you want to quickly update, maybe change bids, maybe change strategies, maybe change the targeting, and you want to do it by theme, you should split it up by theme. And again, there's a lot that goes into it, but you don't have to. You don't really have to do any of this. You should do whatever works for you. If you have a campaign that's small enough, maybe 100, 200, 300 keywords, they all fit in one list, go for it. It's not worth the extra effort needed to maintain and have the administrative capacity to maintain such a complicated setup of campaigns. I should probably do a guide on ways to do keywords inside of a search ads campaign. If you want that guide, let me know in the comments too. This way I'll know who to send it to. Okay, continuing. There are more questions, but we'll get to them after the next one. So let's see what's next. Let's go back to my computer. Okay, so next one is website blocker for parents. This is actually interesting. From an ASO perspective, this checks all the boxes. Well done, Mitchell. If you're in the viewing audience, well done. I'm clapping with my hands even though you can't see it. So I think I understand what this is. The website blocker, specifically targeting parents, so it's probably more kid-friendly and probably more ready for things that have to do with kids, for those channels that kids shouldn't watch, for other things. So the best way, let's look at the iPhone screenshots because they're probably funner. The best way for parents to block YouTube channels and websites. We're becoming the web. I remember this from a long time ago. Download once, use for your family, use for your entire family. A must-have companion for the iOS parental controls. Only content you approve is available for your kids. Safely preview content before approving. Yep, this makes sense, and I kind of like this. I like that what's happening here is that it's very clear, very obvious. Even the icon is very obvious. So on the ASO side, good. I'm sure we can work on the keywords if we really wanted to, because I think this is, while nice, it's such an interestingly competitive space, not the parent side, but the website blockers. So I'm sure there's more we can do there. But let's jump into Apple Search Ads. So again, I put the website into Search Ad Insights, and we are looking at 90 days. And let's see what we have here. We have 17 keywords, which already tells me this campaign is probably not very big. Now, I know that many developers, especially the ones who have not done this before, or the ones who are just getting into it, you're just trying to figure out, how can I get more downloads? You might have a very small campaign, maybe $30 a day, maybe $10 a day, maybe $100 a month, something like that. Those, unfortunately, don't really get much love. And the reason is, unless you find the most extreme of extreme long tails, you're going to be in a position where one click is probably going to cost you, one tap, I should say, is probably going to cost you a ton in comparison to your entire budget. So it will be a disproportionate amount. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you maybe 2 or 3 clicks. Now, odds of someone doing something with the app, they're not very high unless they're incredibly targeted. So if you do have a small campaign, make sure that you take all the time you can and find as many small, low popularity keywords that are really, really, really relevant. And I'm going to stress the really, really, really. You need at least like 3 reallys in order for this to make sense. That's a mistake that I've seen a lot of people do, and then they say search ads don't work and they don't continue with them. And that's kind of a challenge. So continuing. Alrighty, so let's see, what do we have here? Device monitor, website blocker, and you can see these are kind of popular. So if your budget for this is not very high, unfortunately, these are not the keywords I would target. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I would just ignore them altogether. Again, maybe put them in a different ad group and have that ad group set to a very small budget that we can probably be certain will never get displayed unless something weird happens. But you really want to find those high intent keywords. If someone comes into the App Store looking for a website blocker, it doesn't mean that they're looking for a website blocker that's specifically for parents or a website blocker that's specifically for kids. Now, they are looking for a website blocker and they are your user, but that user is just going to be expensive. So you either have to spend more or work on the App Store optimization side to bring your app up without having to pay per click, per tap. So website blocker, again, a lot of these, Safari blocker, private browser VPN, those are just going to be really expensive. So if your campaign is not big, I would say don't do them. Now, there is the other way of looking at it, and that's saying, I want to focus all of my money on 2 or 3 keywords. Sounds interesting in theory. And on the App Store optimization side, that's a strategy that I sometimes actually say to use. The only problem with that is it doesn't really work because unless you're going to be outspending everyone in this category, you're not going to get the long tail. So you're only going to get this one particular user, and you're going to have to outspend really everyone in this category, which is not going to be easy because it kind of works. Something that you can do, and I don't know if we should do this now, but we can do this later, is look at the competitive intelligence data that we have in this report and see if there's really a lot of money in website blockers. And if there is a lot of money in website blockers, you may want to expand your campaign and give it a try if you know that your competitors are making a certain amount of money and you have the ability to spend more for a limited amount of time to see if you can also get that money. That would work. You shouldn't do that if there isn't a lot of money. And that's not something that intuition can just tell you alone. That's something I learned. It's something that you need to have the real data. And that's why we're building all these tools, because we don't just want to guess. Now, if you use the promo code that I am putting on the screen now, you're actually going to get access to the competitor intelligence 2 for up to 10 competitors, or there are a whole bunch of little tiers for 10, for 20, for 30, for unlimited, and you will get a discount on all of them. So if you're doing this actively now, please use this. I get a lot of emails from people asking, is there a promo code? Yes, here's the promo code. It's available. It's going to expire today, so don't hesitate on this. And let's continue. So, okay, we're looking at what I see as many, many keywords that are not exactly related. Block YouTube videos is the first one that I like. And you can see that, one, this app is ranked in the organic side of things, so it's actually in search results. And same for channels, 73. Web blocker, I'm not entirely sure if that makes a lot of sense here, but we at least see that the long tail is good. So what I would do is continue down this long tail path. Make these go away because they are just probably too expensive and they're probably drowning your campaign. And then take the apps that are competing with you here. So let's see who's competing with you on block YouTube channels where you have a very small share of impressions. Thumbnail Maker. Okay, interesting. vidIQ. I know vidIQ. SiriusXM, TV Remote. So all these apps are doing what I said not to do, except for this one. They're advertising in keywords that they really don't belong in. If I'm looking for a way to block YouTube channels, there's very little chance I'm downloading SiriusXM, music, sports, and news. And if I am downloading it because I made a mistake and I really just wanted a blocker, there's no way I'm going to use that for more than 1 second, realize that it's not the app for me, and then move on. So I just cost SiriusXM, music, sports, and news a ton of money that they really should not be spending. And this is the result, most likely, of a broad match campaign on the keyword YouTube, or a broad match keyword on the keyword YouTube, that Apple has no idea of the difference between a blocker and something else. And they're just expanding the campaigns for Sirius. They're expanding the campaigns for vidIQ. They're expanding the campaigns for Thumbnail Maker. And all three of these are just losing money. Please stop losing money. There's really no reason to do that. Not only are you losing money, you're also making it so that your app gets downloaded and then deleted almost immediately. That's a lose-lose the way I see it. Just kind of messing with your numbers too. So this is a challenge. This is a challenge because YouTube is such a competitive keyword, and you want to make sure that you have something that makes you unique so you don't go and compete with all these other apps, especially if you're trying to not spend millions of dollars on your search ads. If you are, you can go head to head with all of these. They're not big enough that they would cost you that much, but they would still cost you a lot. So I would continue to look through all of these apps, find all the most interesting competitors like this one, parental control, add it to the selection, and just like what we did in the first app, do that again and again. So here we're loading a bunch. I have a feeling that parental control app actually is in a bunch of keywords, and we're on 90 days, which means we're going to get a lot of keywords. That's why it's taking so long. We're making that faster, but that's why it's taking so long. And that's a good thing, because the more keywords they have, the more that you can actually learn from, the more that you can actually borrow. So that's already a good sign. We have one more app to go, I believe. No, I want to do 2 more apps. We'll see if we have time in the 11 minutes that I have. But let's take some questions from the audience and then we'll get back to this list, which just loaded. So let's see, what else do we have? Lori's asking for a guide for ways to structure a search ads campaign. Great. I will probably work on that in the future. And then Marcella's asking, is there a way in App Figures to see total downloads for the top N apps for a keyword? And the answer is yes. You can do that using Keyword Inspector. That's usually my favorite tool. It's my favorite tool because it does so many things that I do on an ongoing basis, and they're really, really easy to do in Keyword Inspector, mostly because I do them all the time. So I asked the team to build something that will just make my life easier. Let me show you what that looks like really, really, really quickly. So let's go back to my computer, and let me load this up. I think this is the longest I've been silent this entire live stream, conserving some voice. Okay, oh, you're not seeing my computer. So this is competitor intelligence. That's not where I wanted to go. This is Keyword Inspector. And so Keyword Inspector, we're going to go into, let's say, photo editor, because we talked about this before. And that keyword changes constantly. And because it changes constantly, we update things in real time. It's something that we do so you have data that makes the most sense. And the App Store moves so fast at this point. It's becoming faster and faster and faster, especially around keywords that are really, really competitive and keywords that are really high in their popularity. It was 70 before. We're going to update that in a few seconds. But we don't really care about the popularity. What we do care about is a top app. So you can quickly see the downloads of all of these apps. And this is specifically in the US because this is Inspector. But what I like to do from here is I like to go into Compare App Intelligence. And that's going to, by default, take the top 5, or you can use the checkboxes to select more. And as you do that, it will bring it in here. And then you can see all the downloads. So now you can quickly see what's going on. Now, another quick thing to do is to combine all these trends if you don't care about the app specifically. And you can see what's going on. 30,000 downloads a day. Let's see, I think we're still in the US. So let's get out of the US and go to all countries. And you can quickly see how many downloads they have. And what is this weird pattern? Let's see. Now I'm just randomly curious. And you can see this by month, which is what I normally do. Let's do it by day. And now you have an idea of what's going on. So this is the way the trend is. Slow down after January 1st, which makes sense. People are going back to work. And you have the top 5 apps for this particular keyword have about 100-ish, in the hundreds of thousands. Let's see what the revenue looks like. Okay, so about 300,000. Very interesting. Okay, let's continue on though. Move on to the third app on my list, which is Noted. Record, transcribe, bring audio and notes together. I think that's kind of straightforward. That kind of makes sense to me. Let's see what the screenshots have. And we have a video here, which is cool. It's been a while since I saw a video in any of these. And let's see, you can record, you can AI-powered transcribe, editor's choice. I would move this editor's choice all the way up top. This is cool. I also don't know what this little astronaut robot is, but I really like it. I would just take the screenshot and put it first. If this is an A/B test that you're running and you're trying to shuffle the screenshots, cool. If it isn't, try an A/B test where you bring this keyword to the beginning. You bring the screenshot to the beginning. I think it's actually going to get you more downloads. But okay, we're not here for ASO. We're here for Apple search ads. So I'm expecting to see things about note taking. Now, notes, as many of you who develop things that you actually want and need for yourself, is really hard. It's really hard because everyone built a notes app at some point in their lives. If you're a developer, you probably had the idea, and I know many of us have tried. So there are a lot of notes apps. Not all are successful because it's just a very specific category that also competes with a native notes app. But let's see what we have in terms of keywords. So again, I'm on 90 days, and again, I'm looking at Noted, and we have 26 keywords, which again means to me either the campaign is really small or the campaign is not targeted well enough. So even though there's enough money in it, it's not getting spent. Now, I'm very familiar with campaigns that are not getting spent because I've set up so many campaigns that I thought would be amazing. All the keywords make sense. The targeting is perfect, and they never spend a single penny. So the reason for that is usually because while it feels good, it isn't good, and you have to iterate and optimize. So that's what we're going to try and do here. Let's continue. So what do we have here? Vocal range. I don't know if this is very relevant. And again, you see the same problem that we saw before. Vocal range is not necessarily something I would search and want to download a notes app that uses my voice to transcribe notes. And this is a keyword popularity of 46, which means it is expensive again. So if this, for some odd reason that I don't understand, is an important keyword in this space, hopefully you have it with a really tiny bid. But if it's a really tiny bid, it probably wouldn't show up here. So I assume that's not the case. This could be the result of maybe either smart match, looking at transcribe, record, and some other things related to voice, or broad match on vocal. Maybe. Both of those are not good. So this is just a money burner. I would, again, extract this maybe to a separate campaign if you want to keep it with a very low bid, or just delete it altogether. But we have some other interesting keywords in here. We have transcribe, and we see a pretty high share. So hopefully your money is being spent well. We also have transcript, voice notes. Okay, that makes sense. Dictation, speech to text, voice app. Voice app is kind of borderline interesting versus not, because I don't know if people who are searching for voice app would actually search for this. But again, I see many things that have to do with voice. So I'm not sure if this is a combination of broad match and exact match, or if broad match is actually doing an okay job here. That's to be determined, but I don't know what this is. So let me turn on translation. And translation is actually available across everything that has a keyword, whether it's App Store optimization or Apple search ads. And let's see, where was our keyword that I didn't really understand? It disappeared. Where did it go? It was here 2 seconds ago. Oh, there we go. Dictation. Okay, cool. So dictation from Chinese makes sense. Chinese in the US actually also makes sense. Maybe that's for a more advanced live stream, but once you exhaust all of the local, all of the English keywords in the US specifically, depending on your app, there are large enough populations of other non-English speakers. And we see this with App Store optimization. And that's why the little hack with localization actually exists. And we can apply this here, but that's for a different day. So I see a lot of good keywords here. I think one of the things that I would immediately omit would be this. Get rid of this. And even these, as good as they seem, unless your budget is really high and your conversion is good enough, probably not target them. They are eating up a lot of your campaign. Now, it's also possible these are the only keywords that make sense for something like this, and that's why you would want to do it. So I don't know if this is a good strategy or a bad strategy, but this is something to experiment with. And that is actually something very important. You have to experiment with these things because they're not always intuitive and they don't always work the way you expect them. So I had another app, VVPN, on this list. I don't have time to do it, so I will do it in the comments after this live stream is done. If you're a VVPN's developer, come back and check it out in a few hours. We're running out of time, but let's see if there are any more questions in the chat that I can answer easily in the little bit of time that we have. Sunscreen Mitch is asking, if the long tail keywords don't get enough impressions to be shown in ASA, should we focus on ASO instead? The problem was with outbidding on the pricey ones, I get no impressions. Yes and no and maybe. So I think it's not a matter of the long tail keywords, it's a matter of all the long tail keywords. So if the long tail keywords you found are not working well enough, find more long tail keywords. And more and more and more, and have them in a bid strategy, in a bid amount that's actually maybe even a little bit above what Apple suggests. Now, their popularity is going to be low, so Apple is going to recommend something pretty low. Go a little bit above that. Even if they don't all get impressions, they're not all going to get impressions immediately, and that's the whole idea behind Longtail. That's why for Longtail, you need a lot of keywords, hundreds of keywords if possible, even more, because we expect them to not work. We expect a few to work kind of all the time. So you want to have those few and you want to have the all the time. Go back into Search Ad Insights, look through all the competitors, get lists of all those keywords. There's a way to export them and use those as your long tail. Super easy, super fast, and you will expand that long tail campaign really to infinity, or you could, depending on how much time you want to spend on this. Let's see. What else? Another question. I actually don't know the answer to this one. How many exact match keywords does a campaign typically have? there's no such thing as a typical campaign. It's really what your industry is, what kind of app you do, what sort of campaign plan you have, what sort of targeting you're doing, what country, how much money. So there isn't really a one size fits all. I like to do everything on exact match. I use broad match very, very, very rarely, and I never use smart match or search match. I always do things that are specific to what I have in mind. It takes more time, but it does work. It does, in my opinion and in my experience, give better results and results that are easier to predict. Okay, let's see one more. Jennifer is asking, this is an app figure specific question. When we sign up for a free trial, which plan is it letting us try out? I notice not all features are available with a trial. That's correct. The free trial is the optimized plan. One below grow. It doesn't have the things that I showed you today. That's why I put the, that's why I made this promo code. And again, this is the last chance you'll see it on screen, and it will expire today, and it's a really good price. So if you really want that, the search ads tools, the competitor intelligence tools, give this a go. This is going to expire later today. But that's the optimized plan that you're getting the trial of, and it has everything for ASO with a few tiny exceptions, but none of the app intelligence tools because those are data heavy and data cannot be trialed with our system. Okay, maybe last one. David is asking, hey, hi. Does the US localization have higher priority than MX localization in the US market keywords? ASO, no ASA. I knew we would dip to an ASO question, so I'm glad you asked, David. In my experience, it kind of doesn't. It really depends on how you do it. There's another answer from Leonardo who's saying that he had the same question and he feels like the US is getting a higher priority. It's very possible because it is the US and it is English. From my experiments, and the way I do it is I have different themes in each localization. I haven't really felt that it was getting downshifted at all. It's mostly that the kind of keywords that I use in my experience are usually the more interesting ones, the more mainstream ones, the more important ones are always in English. So that's what I'm used to. But I will continue to check this. I've been getting this question all the time. So this is something that if it changes, I'll let you know. And I'm pretty sure that's it. We're 2 minutes over time and I try to be on time, but hopefully you'll learn something new in this. We looked at search ad insights and how to leverage that to get more keywords. We looked at some of the mistakes. I call them mistakes. Maybe they're strategic, but some of the mistakes that we see in other apps and some ways that they're just burning cash and also how to fix them. And we talked about my favorite strategy for expanding Apple search ads campaigns, and that is the long tail keyword strategy. I hope you can take this and turn this into more money. I'm sorry that I messed up the feed, but that means I'm just going to have to do this again. So I will probably do this again in a week or two. And next week, I'm going to be at Deep Dish Swift. It's a mouthful. Conference in Chicago. If you see me there, say hi. Let me know that you know me. And I will do an App Store optimization teardown for apps that are submitted by people. But I'm going to do this live on stage. It's going to be a blast. So I will probably see you in a few weeks for another live stream where we'll either do this or we'll have a guest. You'll have to find out. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you in a few weeks.